So in today's video, we're going to focus on how to be as accurate as possible and reduce the number of missed shots. This is a follow-up to the video I did a couple days ago on how to win more gunfights, and the entire goal of this video is to allow you to hit more shots and improve your overall accuracy. So the different things that we're going to talk about in today's video are finding the right sensitivity or DPI for you. We're also going to talk a little bit about predictive recoil and how to counter predictive recoil. Also, if you're on a controller, how aim assist works within Modern Warfare as well as Warzone, and how to maximize this and get that sticky aim that sometimes people will talk about. We'll also include tips and tricks for centering as well as best practices to improve on these individual skills. For whatever reason you do enjoy the video, let me know by hitting that like button. I do have a goal on today's video of 750 likes, so if you help me hit that number, I would definitely be appreciative of that. And if you're brand new to the channel or you just haven't yet subscribed, whatever reason, if you're looking to find your way back, definitely consider subscribing with notifications on. With that, let's go ahead and start off with predictive recoil. So what we're going to look right here is predictive recoil, and how predictive recoil works within this game is that pretty much if you aim at the same spot and fire your weapon, it's going to continue to do the same recoil pattern. And as you'll see as we go up, pretty much if you're using the MP7 without any attachments, and that's what you're going to see, a couple different weapons that are gray common drops within the Battle Royale, that's what we're going to see right here. We're going to go, it goes a little bit up and then right, and then it kind of curves diagonally to the side. So that's what we're seeing when we see the recoil pattern. There is a couple different ways to counteract this. One is to do like a burst firing method. And pretty much how this works is you're going to pull the trigger. If you're starting to lose control, you let go of the trigger and that'll allow it to recenter. So this is a burst firing technique without any adjustments. So that means you're not adjusting for recoil, and I'm not pulling down in any way on the thumbstick or the mouse to help correct that aim. Pretty much I'm pulling the trigger for a short period of time, releasing it, and then continuing that process. So that's what you're gonna see right here. I fire probably about 6 shots, let go, fire 6 shots, let go. And you can see the spread is relatively tight, and it pretty much just continues this first pattern that we're seeing right here. It just goes up and then resets, up and then resets. Just this 5 or 6 shot recoil pattern, and it ends up being a relatively tight spread. The next thing you can do is to actually counter that recoil. So pretty much what I'm trying to do is pull down, and then as I get to about the 6 bullet mark, I kind of pull slightly diagonally, and then that's pretty much it. As soon as I write out the entire recoil pattern, it's fairly manageable because this weapon doesn't have a ton of recoil. So this is a very good method if you're just trying to hit someone a little bit further range. You kind of just pull down and kind of hold it together. And you can see how tight that spread ends up being. There is a little bit of side to side just because when you're trying to adjust, you can, in some weapons, depending on how much recoil they have, it might be very productive to actually combine those methods. You might fire 10, 12 bullets, release the trigger just to help you get control of it again, because some recoil patterns, as they are predictive, they can get to a certain point where they go sharp right and it gets very difficult to control. And if you're in a situation where you know that, hey, after about 12, 15 bullets, I got to release the trigger just really quick, like boom, and then you're back at it again. So that's what we're going to see there. And now we're going to transition to another weapon. And these are all common weapon drops. This is a SCAR. And these are going to be a little bit faster as we go through them. You can see it kind of goes up and then to the right. I kind of trace it there in game so you can kind of see what that looks like. Next one, burst firing, no adjustment. And you can see it's only going to do these first couple steps here. And you can see it kind of just stays in this area. So there's not a ton of recoil, even though it kind of just goes up. Relatively easy to control, only a 20 round mag. Obviously, if you create a class, reducing the recoil, you're gonna get a little bit out of it. And you can see this one's a little bit tighter spread, and these are gonna get even tighter as we jump into the next part of it, which is how the aim assist works. You see this LMG, pretty much only vertical recoil. It just goes literally straight up, a little bit of side to side. For the most part, you can see it kind of tightens up the spread, just doing that burst firing technique. And then just holding down, I get a little bit of side to side wiggle. You can see it's fairly lined up and it kind of stays tight. You don't need a ton there because the recoil doesn't go off until the side. Right here, you can see this with the M13. It goes up and to the right. We'll see the same thing, a burst until I get to about there. And then you kind of have a relatively tight spread. Really easy to recoil to control just because they reduce the recoil on this one quite a bit. And you can see if I just hold down, kind of stays there. Obviously, I'm trying to not hit that car, but for the most part, that's how that part works. Now, let's talk about aim assist. This is obviously specific to controller. Regardless if you're on PC or on a console, there are 2 different types of aim assist within the game. You have rotational aim assist, which we're going to see right here. And then we also have aim down sight slowdown. Those are two separate things. And both of those aim assist work whether it's in the hip fire or while aiming down sight, which you're gonna see both of those. So this is hip fire, strafe, rotational aim assist. So pretty much all I'm doing, not aiming down sight, I'm just gonna strafe left and right, and you're gonna see how it pulls my character. I'm not adjusting for aim. So you're gonna see it kind of pulls it a little bit to the left. As I go, it kind of does a rotational aim assist. It doesn't really lock onto the person because you still got to do the work. So this one right here is going to be aim down sight, strafe, rotational aim assist. And you're going to see the same mechanic. It's going to be a little bit slower because your movement's not as fast. So it kind of just rotates you a little bit, and you'll kind of see how that plays out. So I come across, boom, I got the rotational aim assist. So that is a little bit there. Now we have aim down sight slowdown. Look as I cover back and forth. I'm only using my aim now. I'm not using my feet to move at all, not laterally, not forward and back. I'm only aiming down sight. So go ahead and look at this. And you can see how it kind of like almost stops. Not necessarily locks on because I'm just pulling that way. But if you have aim down sight and zero movement, look at my crosshairs. They will not move. This is still aim assist on. So this is the exact same thing, but now the player's moving. It does not give you any kind of aim assist. Look at that. It literally is not going to move. And that is pretty much how that part works. So now we're going to see the exact same mechanic. Let's say you're pre-aiming a door, right? You want to make sure you're focused on pre-aiming a door. What ends up happening is if the person comes through and jumps through, you see your crosshairs do not move. Some people say, oh, it literally grabs you and all that stuff. You're not going to get that if your feet aren't moving. Now, check it out. I'm strafing into the wall. You're going to see my feet are not necessarily moving, but I'm holding left. I'm holding left as they jump through. And as I hold strafing into the wall, I'm just holding left into the wall. So I'm not going to be making any foot noise, but the game is registering that I am applying pressure on my left analog stick, or I'm making that strafe into the wall. And this is very important mechanic because you're going to want to be able to see how it kind of grabbed it. Obviously you're close, so the gravitation is much stronger. Since aim assist and rotational slowdown is all based off distance. So the further you get away, the less that gravitation is. So if I'm not strafing into the wall, I'm not going to get any assist, and I'm just going to have to drag it myself, which in those close quarter engagement, that could be very tricky. In this particular scenario, even just strafing in the wall will allow me to take advantage of any aim assist, whether that's the rotational or the aim down sight slowdown, and it's going to combine all those factors because the game is registering that I'm actually moving. I'm just standing still, not going to get the aim assist. That's very important to understand why people, man, it looks like they hit their shots so dang easy. Well, if you're looking at this aim assist component and you're maximizing your aim assist by rotational and aim down sight slowdown, combining those, and you understand how the recoil works, like you know the weapon's recoil pattern, or you put on a ton of attachments to reduce the recoil, it gets very easy. Obviously, this was a much closer range, so you're going to have to worry about that. For the most part, the further you go away, if you're combining all these different factors and you can control the recoil, it's gonna look like you could just hit anything at further distances. The lower bullet velocity is gonna be a lot trickier to hit people at range, but for the most part, you should still be able to hit your shots if you're tracking where those little tracers go. So that covers the bulk on how to hit your shots. Now let's focus on how to find the right sensitivity. Obviously, if you don't have the main game, it's gonna be a little bit trickier, but Warzone still does have a practice mode. I wouldn't recommend trying to figure out your right sensitivity in a live public match, just because there's not a lot of room for error, especially when you're jumping into the BR portion. And obviously if you go into plunder, you can land, see if the sensitivity is right, and then just make some adjustments. But in case you guys didn't know, there's actually a practice mode within the Battle Royale or Warzone component of the game, where it actually allows you to practice in a lobby full of mixed level bots. So some are going to be more difficult than others and actually can hit their shots, but still allow you to land, use a pistol, maybe pick up some of the weapons on the floor, kind of experiment with that. And then if you feel a little bit more comfortable with that individual setting and maybe you need some minor tweaks, then I would jump into Plunder. And Plunder is a good mode specifically because it is a casual mode in my opinion. People jump in there, kind of mess around with their friends. Maybe they go for kills. They're looking to level up weapons, do some challenges, and it allows you to get a good amount of practice without loading into a map, doing everything right, barely getting your loadout, and then you get shot in the back and you never actually had a chance to practice that gunfight. This will allow you to go through all those different Battle Royale mechanics, but within a respawn game mode where you can pick where you land and just kind of figure figure out the mechanics and just get really comfortable with your accuracy, and that should allow you to fine-tune the correct sensitivity and the DPI settings for you as a player. The last thing we'll go ahead and focus on is centering. A lot of times people don't value how important centering is, and when it comes to the Battle Royale, it can be a little bit trickier because there's so much verticality. Obviously, there's certain buildings that have like 16 floors high, but for the most part, you kind of have an idea of where enemies are going to be, and you want to keep your crosshairs in an area that you'll be able to spot someone and you won't have to move the crosshairs all that far to actually aim down sight and or to be on the target, because that lost time from whether you're looking at the floor or looking at the wall and you end up spotting someone, having to drag those crosshairs across the screen, aim down sight, and then fire your weapon could be crucial milliseconds that cause you to win or lose that gunfight. So if you follow all these things and practice them on a regular basis, consciously practice them, where you're literally focusing on these individual in-game mechanics, your accuracy should be significantly better and you should be on your way to winning significantly more gunfights. So if you made it to this point in the video, you probably enjoyed the video in some way. Please do me a favor of hitting the like button. Again, the goal is 750 likes. And if you want to make it as easy as possible to find my channel on a regular basis, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on so you get an alert every time I post a brand new video. I do appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, have a great day.